What's going on, everyone? Alex Da Silva, Happy as Larry Group. I hope you are well on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to be doing 2 videos a week, one on Tuesday, which is today, and one on Thursdays. So the topic for today is anxiety. It's a bit of a killer, this one. What is anxiety? Anxiety is a feeling of unease, worry, or stress. We've all been there. We've all felt it. The main symptoms of anxiety is panic disorders, phobias, PTSD, and social anxiety. I think at any point in our lives, every single human being has suffered with some form of anxiety. Whether it's, going to a job interview, worrying about, oh my God, am I going to get that job? Going on a date, oh my God, is that girl going to like me? Am I going to say the right things? Do I look okay? Do I smell nice? Little things like that, which can actually be huge things. Stress is another one as well. It's such a killer because sometimes these things we feel like we just cannot control them. The way it just comes up and it just comes out, sometimes it just feels like an explosion inside and we just don't know how to deal with it. Things that can cause anxiety, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list out a few things and I'm going to talk about each one of them, and I'm going to give you a little answer as well, so stay tuned. Money is one of the things that causes anxiety. We all need it, we all want it, and we're never happy about it. Money is one of these things that we constantly keep chasing after it. The more we have, the better it is. And when we don't have enough of it, we are never happy. Relationships. We want to be in a relationship. Every human being in the world wants to receive and wants to give love. But when we're in a relationship, we are never happy. Why? Is because we set unrealistic expectations about the other individual. The other individual, all of a sudden, it seems to be their job to make us happy, to love us. And when those expectations are not met, then all of a sudden we become really unhappy. And then we start to get really anxious because is that person now going off of me? Why are they not happy with me? Why did she not tell me she loves me today? She didn't kiss me as she normally used to. She just rushed out of the door today. Is something wrong? Does any of that make sense? And I'll get to some of these things and we'll start breaking them down a little bit more. Stress, which I've already mentioned, it's such a killer. Stresses of work, stresses of, personal life, stresses of anxiety, just usual life worries. Stress is another huge killer. And which kind of brings me to the next word. I know it's not a very pretty one, but it's about death or dying. I know many people, including myself, who used to get really anxious about all of these things, death being one of them. Now, the funny thing is I used to get really stressed about dying whilst I was drinking myself to oblivion and I was doing copious amounts of drugs and then wondering why I was worried and anxious about dying. My body was telling me through my anxiety, you need to stop putting these things inside me. This is really not working. I don't want it anymore. But for some reason, I thought it'd be okay for me to just keep doing it. Just keep putting them in. It's okay. The anxiety will go soon enough. So that was my coping mechanism. And I wondered why I kept thinking that about myself all the time. And I kept getting so anxious all the time. And I kept worrying about dying and then getting anxious about it. Worries. We touched on that. I think every other word that's come out of my mouth with the previous words that I described were worries, and we all worry. We worry about the past, we worry about the future, and I'll get to that very, very soon. Loneliness. As much as we all want to be in a relationship, we have so many expectations about relationships that nowadays we also want to be independent. So I don't want that person to hold me down, but yet I don't want to be by myself. So it's either one or the other. You either want to be in a relationship or you want to be by yourself. Make up your mind. But we get anxious about it because we can't. So the anxiety just keeps building and building and building. And the fear of being alone, the fear of loneliness and not having somebody around, not having somebody to love, and not having somebody that's going to love us. Again, another reason, or another way where anxiety gets triggered. The pressures of society. Now, this is one which, unfortunately, a lot of us fall down because it's now become second nature. It's been drummed into us through years and years and years and years of conditioning that we've mastered these behaviors, that we think that we have to behave the way society tells us to. And it's such a lot of pressure. It's huge pressures. Huge pressures, for a man. It's huge pressures for women, to be a certain way, to look a certain way. Men have to be strong. Men have to be tough. Men can't show their feelings. Men have to be men. What the hell does that mean? Women have to be a size 8 or a size 6 or a size 0. They have to look a certain way. If they're not blonde, they have to be brunettes. If they don't have blue eyes, they must have green. If they are white, they must be tanned. If they are black, they must be lighter. It's these massive contradictions which make no sense. Yet, if we're not curvy enough, we are not slim enough, we are not fit enough, we are not tall enough, our bums are not big enough, our boobs are not big enough, or they're not small enough, our manhoods are not the size it should be. Do you catch my drift? We put these pressures on ourselves unnecessarily in order to be able to fit into society. Getting out of our comfort zones, pushing ourselves a little bit more, doing things that we normally wouldn't do. Things that actually could be something really, really fun, skydiving, just doing a little bit of exercise, I don't know, horse riding, just trying something that usually wouldn't be to our comfort can bring anxiety. And with that, it can trigger so many other feelings as well, and again, listen, I completely understand that this is not in any way, shape or form am I mocking anxiety. What I am doing is I'm also sharing my own experiences here. I've made some notes, and these are things that I used to suffer from and things that triggered anxiety for me. And it's a huge killer. It's so uncomfortable. Even sometimes saying certain things, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I understand today that they are not real. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. The other one is crowds. Being around a crowd of people, especially people that you don't know, it can be such a killer. I remember having to go and speak to people I don't know, and just being in situations where I just felt completely closed, and I could feel my chest just tightening up, and I could feel myself getting really, really nervous, and not feeling comfortable in this situation at all. Meeting new people, again, I guess it's sort of being amongst in a crowded place, or sometimes even just going on a date. Oh my God, used to absolutely cripple me. Meeting somebody new, just because I wanted to meet the right person, and I wanted to impress, and I wanted to be this man, and oh God, the feelings were, it was just, I used to put myself in this state, which was absolutely horrible place to be in. But again, I understand what was triggering that, and then I started to learn what I needed to do to overcome these feelings. the future. And I'll also bring this one in, the past. Human beings are experts at predicting the future and living in the past. Work. How many of us have sat in a job that we absolutely hate for years and years and years? Yet, because of society and what society tells us, is that we must go to university and we must find a job and we must sit in that job and we must get a pension and we must get the health care and we must have some savings and we must get married and we must have kids. And then when we get old, we retire and we die. And we have nothing else to show for it. And apparently, that's what living is. Is it? If you ask yourself that question, just listen to what I said. Does that sound like a happy life to you? Work is a huge one, you know, and it was for me. And listen, I'm not by any means here, you know, dissing the people that I worked with and the companies I worked for. I gained some incredible experience, you know, and I've had some amazing times. Even if I didn't enjoy the job, you know, the people that I've met, when times were tough, they made it easy for me. But the choices that I was making, these were my personal choices, had nothing to do with anybody else. And I learned to make different choices about my job. Hence the reason why I do this today. And you can do it too. So we're going to get to that. Now, I wonder whether any of you know, or whether you can hear, or whether you can see where I'm getting to here. And some of the things that I previously spoke about, what does that all trigger? What is the main trigger for anxiety? If you haven't answered that already, or if you don't know, or if you haven't seen where all of these things that I've just described, if you can't see where it's going, I'm going to tell you. It's called fear. F-E-A-R, which stands for false evidence appearing real. Does that make sense? Has the penny dropped? Everything comes from fear. I lived in fear for many years, many years. And fear, I've come to realize, is the biggest killer of the human race. It kills most people. People say, oh, you die from drug overdose, you know, you die from alcohol, you can die, you know, people commit suicide. Why did they commit suicide? Why do we get ourselves in such a state that we feel we cannot turn anywhere else, that we have to do such a thing? And all of those feelings that I discussed, all of those things that I described, all of those things that, you know, that can cause anxiety, it's all fear. That's where it all stems from. It's the mother of all negativity. Now, here is a real positive one. I'm going to give you another, I guess, another little breakdown for the word fear, which is face everything and rise. That is the new way of looking at fear. Because false evidence appearing real means that everything that's going on up here is not actually happening. And I think, as we described, we're very good at, you know, living in the past and predicting the future. And those things, 9 times out of 10, for me, none of them actually happened. A lot of them were happening because of what was going on up here. So it was because of the way I was thinking. It were the things that I was projecting. And how do we beat that? How do we stop living in the past and projecting the future? Well, here is an answer for you. Live in the right here and the right now. Live in the present. The biggest gift given to any single human being on this planet is time. And it's absolutely priceless, because once time is lost, you never get it back. So live in the present time, live in the now. You know, it's about enjoying every single moment. It's about making every single second count in your life. When you wake up in the morning to the time that you go to bed, it's about enjoying yourself in the present moment. It's about not believing the lies that your head is telling you. Whether it's telling you that you're not good enough, whether it's telling you that you're not going to get that job, whether it's telling you that that girl is not going to be the right one for you, that you're not good enough for her, that she's not good enough, or you are, or whatever it is that your head tells you, it's a lie. If you bring yourself into the present moment, unless somebody's telling you those things verbally, unless they are facts, it's a lie. The way that I started to overcome anxiety was just working at it on a daily basis. And what worked for me was living in the present moment, was being able to look at my life and say, is this really happening right now? So when my head started worrying about work, or started worrying about the next job, or this date that I'm supposed to be having, I'm obviously with Lucy, so I'm not going on any dates. But as an example, when I met Lucy, I was really, really stressed and I was really anxious actually, because I really was looking forward to meeting her. And my anxiety was telling me that I wasn't good enough and she wasn't going to like me, and that, this just wasn't going to work. And the reality of it is when she turned up with that big, massive, beautiful smile and her big, beautiful blue eyes, I just fell in love with her. And we had the best time of our lives. It was incredible. You know, we had the most random date in the world. We ended up going for lunch and we spoke for hours, and then we went to a museum. We had our first kiss and we were just talking, and then we ended up going into a coffee shop, which I shall not name. And we just ended up having an incredible time, and we spoke for hours until the coffee shop shut, and until the coffee shop shut. And then eventually we just went home. Can you listen to what I just said there? All of the things that I thought were going to happen, none of them did. And as soon as I got into that present moment, I realized I just enjoyed every single moment of that date, which then became, an incredible relationship, which meant then that we opened this company, which meant then that we are living our mission statement, which is helping to change the world one person at a time. And that was something that we had to work at, individually and together. Now, here is something I want you guys to do. Start living in the present moment. Start believing in yourself. Positive affirmations help massively. I always, when I'm feeling sad, or when I'm feeling a little bit anxious, if I'm going to go and work with a new client, or if I'm actually, if we're going to go and pitch for something. We just had our workshop just a weekend gone, and I was really, really worried, and I did have some anxiety around that, because we were expecting a certain amount, a number of people to turn up, and when there was less people than I expected, I panicked. Not because there was less people there, but the people that did turn up, what were they going to think? And it was a split moment, because what I did, I put things into practice, and the first thing I did was, well, let's not worry about that. Let's just get on with the day and see what happens. So I put myself into the present moment straight away. I didn't allow my head to go off and start thinking about, my fears. I didn't allow the fears to just start, bubbling up. It was an incredible day. The workshop was a success. Everybody's working the 30-day challenge now. And by the way, you guys are absolutely incredible. You guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. And listen, these are the things that get reaffirmed. As soon as you get yourself out of that fear and you go from false evidence appearing real to facing everything and rise, getting yourself out of that comfort zone and living in the present moment, which is now, you have nothing to worry about. And if you practice that on a daily basis, you can overcome the anxiety. Listen, guys, I know that I've gone on for a little while, so if you've been watching for this long, thank you so much. But I tell you what I would like to do is I do want to carry on this conversation, but I want you to engage with me, so give me more to talk about. Leave your comments below. Give me some questions, and, you know, I'm here to help. So let's start a dialogue here. You know, let's start working together, and I'm going to be posting some more videos, so I want to post them around things that you want me to talk about. And I hope this has helped. If you want to talk to me on a private basis, on a one-to-one basis, confidentially, email us on info@happyaslarrygroup.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all at Happy as Larry Group. And you can go to our website, which is www.happyaslarrygroup.com. Please subscribe, like the videos, and don't forget to comment. Share this video if you know somebody that has been suffering with anxiety and you think this can help them. Please share this with them. Get them to come and comment on the video. Whether you agree with the things that I've said or whether you disagree, let me know. I'd love to start a dialogue, something healthy. I am not here to argue with people. I am here to help you. Listen, there is two things that I want to leave you with. Fear and love. They do not live in the same space. Happiness and sadness do not live in the same space. You can make the choice whether you want to live love and happiness or whether you want to live in fear and sadness. Listen, I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Have an incredible day, have an incredible afternoon, an incredible evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you. Take care.